Hi boys and girls, this is Mrs. Mouton and we are ready to start our next video. I promised you in the last one on perimeter that I would do one on area. And so here we go. Make your positive statement and say it like you mean it, and remember that you are smart. S, spectacular. M, magnificent. A, amazing. R, remarkable. And T, terrific. I hope I spelled that right. It's late, so sorry guys. Okay, so first thing we're going to do is a little joke to open up that brain, get those dendrites going. What does a teacher say if you doze off in math class? And you better not doze off in Ms. Mouton's math class. Y'all know better. But she says, up and atom. There you go. Anyway, I know that was so completely funny. We'll just go on. We're going back to measurement SOLs 5.8 and 5.9. Remember, we're doing area on this video, but we also have to know about perimeter and volume as well, because they're going to toggle back and forth between those three skills. So you have to be able to solve practical problems, and here's where all three comes together. Differentiate among them. So they'll give you either a problem and ask you to do perimeter, area, or volume, and you have to know which is which, or they'll give you a scenario. Someone's putting a fence around the outside of their home. What is this an example of? And you'll have to know that that's perimeter, but again, we're focusing on area. So given equivalent measures again, and we'll be doing that sometime in the near future, and then practical problems involving length and volume using metric units. Is it important to have a standard way of doing something? Yes, it is, and that's why you need to commit your formulas to memory. Remember, perimeter equals side plus side plus side. We're going to talk about the two area formulas today. How do the tools that I have available affect what and how we can measure? So again, you need to know how the question is laid out, or based on how the question is laid out, what are they expecting you to do? What tools are they expecting you to use to be able to solve the problems? There's your learning intention. Determine area, perimeter, volume with or without diagrams. Use the pictures, use the formulas in a given situation. Identify whether the application is perimeter, area, volume. And then you know you've got it when you can use the appropriate concept after reading a statement. Remember, you can sometimes have pictures, sometimes it's words. It's not just about how well you can do the math. You got to be able to read too. Last time, perimeter was on the top because that was going to be our focus area. This time we are focusing on area, and it's the number of units that cover a flat surface. Again, thinking about those 2D shapes. Last time we were doing the distance around. Now we're doing in the middle. You see the area is in here. And if we talked before about area, one of the examples we gave in class was we were going to redesign our classroom, and we would put in a rug. You may have heard of area rugs before. Well, there you go. It's covering the flat surface. Tiles on a roof, the actual canvas. We would find out the size of the canvas would be the area. So now we're looking at a different aspect. Area is the surface included within a plane figure, and it's measured by two ways. The number of square units, and that's in this kind of a example here, needed to cover the surface. When you're dealing with a rectangle, it can be, so let's get the word in here really quickly. And you have these notes in your notebook. Or when you're dealing with just a rectangle, so say, let me get this nice straight line here. Say we were dealing with just a rectangle. And we'll see if it'll let me grab it all at one time. Nah, probably not. It's being not nice. Oops. let's see if we can just move it over. We'll move it over one time. Don't mind my annotations. Number of square units. Whoops. Sorry, guys. Sorry. We won't take those along. We'll get rid of those. So here's the one with the square units, or you can fill this in. If we're dealing with a rectangle, you can determine area by multiplying the length of the base times the length of the height. And sometimes we say length times width, which is length times width here, but it's the same thing as area equals the base times the height. And remember that they also put those letters together without the multiplication sign in the middle. We know when two numbers are just next to each other with no sign in the middle, that also means to multiply. So we would just count the units of area covered covering this one here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We said that's like our carpet squares. Or since we took this rectangle here from this one, we know it would measure the same. 3, and I'm going to put it on this side just so it's not squished in there, and 2 units. Or we could take it and multiply it to find out how many squares there would be. Never draw the squares in. They're always going to give you the measurement if they don't have the squares in there. Or you may have to use the only time they wouldn't give it to you is if you have to use your ruler to actually measure it and then find the area after that. So we would do 2 times 3, because that's that second step where it's talking about multiplying the length of the base by the length of the height. 3 times 2 times 3, which equals 6. And this would really be our base and our height, so it would be 3 times 6. But you're still going to get the same answer no matter what order you put them in. So area here would be 6 for this straight rectangle, or counting the boxes here, area, same thing, would be 6. Notice how they have this 2 up here. That means units squared. Remember we talked about those square units? It's these square units because it's covering the whole floor, like our little carpet squares that we could buy. Or we could buy wall-to-wall carpet. So it's the same thing. Either they're going to show us the squares or they're going to just show us the measurement on the sides. And we would have to figure out the total area. Again, we're looking at it here. Either count the square units that we have around. So that would be 2. And this one would be 6. And then multiply. 6 times 2 is what? It's 12. Square millimeters. Or if we just count them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 is what we have there. I'm not going to move it because they're having some technical difficulty. I don't want to mess it up. Or just multiply here. 5 times 3 equals what? 15. We would find out if we had the squares in there, there would be 15 of them. Again, it's square yards, or yards squared. All right. So area equals length times width, which we said is also base times height. And there's a particular reason that we want to stick to base times height, because remember we've got some other shapes coming up that we're also going to have to be able to find the area of, and it's easier to stick to the same formula that we're going to use for that shape as well. Remember that sometimes they won't give us a whole picture like they did here with these cute little neat and uniform units there. They may be like this. And what do you do with it? 1, 2. We can clearly see this is a half and a half, and we know a half plus another half makes a whole. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. The area of this would be 4 square units, or units squared. Again, there's a half and a half. That makes a whole, and a half and a half. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, be careful because this is not that other shape that we're talking about. These are still rectangular or polygon shapes here, we're looking at the area because it has the squares. We've got to know we're not looking at sides here. We're counting the squares that are in there. So 1, 2, put these two together, make 3. They make a whole. And then these two together make a whole. That's 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 5, because 2 halves make a whole. And then 6. So there, that would be 6. And sorry, I didn't put it 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, so moving right along. Let's try to do some area problems. Right here, what if we had a 2 by 3? And we would fill that in. I'm just going to kind of sloppily. It's harder to do it with my mouse than it is with the pen tool in the classroom. But if we had a 3, geez Louise, sorry guys, a 2 by 3, we've got 2 squares, 1, 2, and 3 here, 1, 2, 3. If we counted all of them up, that would be 6, but remember we could also use the formula, area equals base times height. Our base is down here, that's the side that it lays on. Think about the base is the foundation. If we have a trophy, it's or a some type of statue, it sits on a base. Base times its height, how high it is, and that equals 6. So area would be equal to 6. Alrighty. So let's take a look again at one that they give you. Now, look at this. They only give you the 2 sides of this. We've got Miss Swim and Splash again. She's got this pool. This time she's not doing a fence. This time she wants to cover it up for the winter. And she wants to put a cover on it. Again, area is anything that takes up that space in the middle. It's a covering for a flat surface. So she would have to multiply her 20 times her 12. We could do our regular computation, 0, 4. Oops, don't forget how to multiply. Multiple numbers, clean the house, make mama happy. There's no cleaning up there, but mama is still happy because that house is clean. There was nothing to clean. 0 times 1 is 0. 1 times 2 is 2. Then we add it. 0, 4, and 2. 240 feet squared would be the pool cover. That's how much she would need. We can do the same thing with our rectangle because we're finding the area. If we had the squares, we would count the squares. We don't have them. 8 times 3 is 24. And it's a good idea to always write, your formula. Base times your height. All right, so you're constantly reminding yourself, oh my goodness, there's only one. But we know what to do here. The base and the height are going to be the same because it is a what? It's a square. So 4 times 4. What did I just say about writing my formula? Shame on me. It's late, dudes, so I'm trying to finish. Area equals base times height. This is the big thing that I want to get to now. Oh, there's some more examples. Find the area of the field, or the area of the field shown, pictured is 12 what? Look at that, yards. Tells us it, so it would be square yards. And I was hoping you would actually find it. I should have covered it up so you didn't see it first. Multiplying again, area equals base times height, 4 times 3, which equals 12. Here's another one. We're going to find the area now. It's a square, so we know the sides are going to be exactly the same. So the base is going to be 25. They already have the height of 25, and then you would do the multiplication. Send me a little message and tell me what you find when you get that. Remember what you can use. You can use your calculator to do the computation. Sorry, guys. meant to do that instead. All right, so we're moving through here. Here are some other ones that we did in class. Finding the area, multiply the base times the height. And I'm kind of moving this along because I think y'all get the idea of area this way. This is the really challenging part of area. Now, what if we had a model, again, that was, let's make a 2 by 4 model. And I know I'm a little sloppy with outlining. We'll shade it in. We're going to cover this floor here. And they want to know what the area of this particular model is. Well, the area of this whole rectangle, we know that area, sorry guys, I'm making a big mess, equals base times height. So we have a base of 4 and we have a height of 2. So area equals 4 times 2. So area equals 8. Now, that's the area of our rectangle. So everything that's in the middle there of our rectangle, it has an area of 8. But what if we turn this into 2? The area of our rectangle, sorry. I hope I said that. What if we turn this into 2 right triangles by dividing it in half? Again, when we did our subdividing shapes, we found out that we could divide a rectangle into 2 right triangles. And what if we just wanted to find the area, wait a second, of, take this guy and move him over. Yeah, I had a feeling he wasn't. Sorry guys. I'm going to take this guy and move him over out of the way. Thank you. Scoot over there. We can even, yeah, just move him there. I'll make him a little smaller so he'll fit and you can see him while we still look at this guy right here. Of course, it's going to give me trouble. Alrighty. So, we're now going to look at the area of just the triangular shape. Just one of the 2 triangles. Now, if we were going to find the area of that blue triangle on the top, we can't find it by finding the area of this whole shape. The red, actually, when you see the picture, the red part would be gone if we're just looking at a triangle. But we know we've got 2 here, and this hasn't changed. This would be 4 here. So this side is 2, and this side is 4. But now we no longer have all of this area in the middle because we've split it in what? In half. We split it in half. So we can see 2 holes here, right? But we don't have the other part of this. And we don't have the other part of that guy right there. So we can no longer say it's 8 because 8 would include the red and the blue together. But we're only looking at the blue now. So now when you're going to find the area of a triangle, know that the area can't still be 2 multiplied by 4 because 2 multiplied by 4 would give you all of this space in here. It's going to be 1/2 because a triangle is half of that rectangle. 1/2 base times height. Well, our base times height hasn't changed, but we only have half of it. So our area would be equal to 1/2 base, our 4 again, times 2. It's the same thing we did before, but now, again, we only have half of it. So area would be half of what? It's going to be half of 8. Or we could say multiplied by 8. Now, from this step, I'm just going to take this guy away. There are 2 ways to do this. One way, and I'm going to jump down here. would be to do it this way. 1/2 times 8. And we've done this before. We've multiplied fractions by whole numbers. And we said it's really simple. All we have to do is put that whole number over a 1 in order to multiply a fraction by a whole number. 1 times 8 is 8. 2 times 1 is 2. 8/2. 8/2 is an improper fraction, so we can't leave it that way. And we know we make improper fractions into mixed numbers or just into a whole number, depending on how our division goes, by dividing. There's our cowboy. He goes in the house. Here's our horse. Horses never go in. The cowboy's riding a horse. And then we divide. 2 goes into 8 how many times? 4 times. 4 times 2 is 8. Goes in evenly. No remainder. So area equals 1/2 base times height, which our 8 represents the base times the height. So area equals half of that 8, which is 4. Another easy way that we talked about doing it is just find the area, base times height, which is our regular 4 times 2, which gives us 8. And then how would we get half of any number? Instead of just multiplying it here, we could just jump to the step of getting the half by doing this. Just divide whatever we normally got for our area. We no longer have the whole thing. We have half of it. How do we get half of anything? Divide by 2. It's the same exact thing, but we've taken out that step here of multiplying by the 1/2. Because eventually we have to do that anyway because we can't leave it as an improper fraction. So I'm leaving it up to you whether you want to do that step where you multiply by the fraction, but understand that that's really what you're doing. You're multiplying by 1/2, which means you have to put it over 1 and you get an improper fraction. It's the same thing, but we've just shortened our steps by saying, go ahead and find the area of the whole shape. And then knowing you don't have the whole shape, you only have half of it. This blue is only half of it. Go ahead and divide by 2 to find half of it. And that will be your answer. So no matter what you do, area is 4. And if you look here, we've got a whole 1, 1, 2. If we put these 2 together, because that's kind of like that missing part, we got 3. And then these 2 together, that makes 4. So our area is still, sorry, just messed that up. Our area is still 4, ladies and gentlemen. We'll just take away those little marks off of there. Alrighty, so let's try another one. Don't forget, it's all it's telling us that the area of a triangle is half of the base times the height because we don't have that rectangle. Let me bring this to the front. Order him. Come on, dude. Because we don't have that whole rectangle anymore. We now have half. If we have a triangle, we have half the area, so we have to divide it by half. And sometimes, again, when there's not that right angle on it, they'll give us the height of the triangle here, so we can see it notated this way too. Don't get confused by that. It's the same exact thing. They're just showing us the height here on a 90-degree angle. Here we already have it, so we don't have to find it that way. So let's find the area of these triangles. Again, area equals, what's our formula? 1/2 base times the height. Because it would be the base times the height of a triangle, but we only have of a rectangle, sorry, but we only have half of the rectangle when we have a triangle. So area equals 1/2 of the base, which is 7 because it's sitting on that guy, times 4, which is the height. Height is going up, that's how tall you are. Area equals 1/2 of 7 times 4, which is half of 28. Remember, we can take that and put it over 1. 28 over 2. And we still have to divide. 28 divided by 2 is what? A equals 14. 14. Or just go right to it. 7 times 4 is 28. Find the regular area and then divide it by 2, which really means we're given half of it. We're going to bring that guy down to 4 times 2 is 8. Sorry, I know I'm going kind of fast. There's nothing left over. 14 is our area of our triangle. Do the same thing here with the 10, and you can see that actually in your notebook because we've done this one before. Now look at this right here. They want the area of a triangle, but look at what they did. They gave you 3 measures. Be careful because they're going to try and trick you like that. So suddenly it looks like, oh, it's a perimeter question. No, it's not. It's an area question. They want you to take the base and the height. And again, what? 1/2. Base times height. Both the base and the height are 5. Sorry, got my equal sign on that one. So it equals 1/2. 5 of 5 times 5. And then area equals 1/2 of what? 25 put it over the 1 so that you can multiply it. 25 over 2, and I'm going to divide it here, but it's the same exact thing. If we just multiply the base times height, get 25, divide it by 2. And this is where your calculator is really going to come in handy because it's going to give you the power to be able to get those decimals without having to do a lot of things. How many times does 2 go into 2? 1 time, just 2. Do your Does McDonald cell if you need it over there. But remember, that's just a scaffold. So if you don't need it anymore, don't worry about doing it. Bring down your 5. How many times does 2 go into 5? 2 times. 2 times 2 is 4. Subtract. Bring down the 1. We have 1 as a remainder, but we don't want to put it with an R. We put it over the same denominator that we had before, which is 2, and it's 12.5. Or you can see it this way. Don't forget 12.5 because 5/10 is equal to 1/2. And we're going, ladies and gentlemen. See how it's getting more complex? That's moving you towards those pre-algebra concepts. Now check this out. Hate to tell you, but they can ask you to put the area and the perimeter in the same question, or they can make you work on both skills together in the same question. So you have to find one that has an area. This is where you definitely have to know those concepts of 8 and a perimeter of 12. So there's going to be more than one. We can do process of elimination and know, oh my gosh, that one's 9. 3, 6, 9. There's no way. Get rid of that one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. This one has 8. 2, 4, 6, 8. That one's good too. 2, 4, 6. No good. We can't have an area of 6. It has to be 8. So now we're down to 50-50, and then we need a perimeter of 12. So let's try this one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. We think this might be our answer. Let's try this one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Already too many. So we know G is definitely our answer. Mixing those two skills together, area of 8, perimeter of 12. And then this is the one I'm going to let you work this out and send it to me in a little email or send me a message on Google Classroom, whatever you would like to do. A rectangle has sides measuring 8 feet by 17 feet. What is the area and what is the perimeter? Show all your work. And know that it doesn't have to be a rectangle that they're asking you about. It could also be a triangle. And how would it be different if they were asking you about a triangle? Don't take for granted that you'll always have a picture. How would it be different with a triangle? we would find half of it, because a triangle is only half of the rectangle, and it would be a right triangle that you would be finding half of. So 1/2 base times height is your area formula for your triangle, and just base times height is the area formula for your rectangle. Be careful that you know those two. Be careful that you know your perimeter as well. And I know I keep going back and mixing them all together, but they are definitely going to mix all those concepts together. Area equals base times height, which is the same as length times width. And then on our triangle, area equals 1/2 base times height. Please, please memorize those formulas to find area. And again, visit your math playground and the other links that are on there, your fruit chute, that will help you to get that practice with changing from area to perimeter. And then I'm going to throw in volume pretty soon. So get ready, ladies and gentlemen. And I hope this helped. If you need to go back, you can go back. You can always stop it and try to work out some of those problems. I know we did them the other day, but those are some extra problems that you have. And I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you understand. If you have questions, also email me with questions. Is there anything you did not understand? But keep practicing, because you're going to get it. I know you are, because you are smart. You have hope and a bright future. And when you get to that bright future, don't forget about your teacher, Miss Mouton. I will see you in class, ladies and gentlemen.